All right. Yeah, my last period, they won. They were feeling holiday hits. So I have some holidays. Oh, okay. So we know eating meat has much greater impact on our environment than eating plants. You know, having a more vegetarian diet. So what are some more specific Wait, oh, look at that. I think it's variables. Yeah. Oh, hey, look at all the ones right here. Camila, all right. Okay. So, Anna, what's the way that, this the impact is pretty harsh when we eat plant or animal protein? What are some ways that our environment is negatively impacted when we eat meat? When we eat pork, beef, chicken. What's the problem with that from an environmental standpoint? You don't know. Well, Anna, what do animals produce? Waste. Well, we call that waste. Yeah. So feces from all these animals normally is not a problem, but we grow them thousands, hundreds, and thousands together. And what can all that feces damage? Well, they can dry and go into the air. Also, run off into lakes and streams and damage them, or the groundwater too, right? Those compounds, especially nitrates, can go into the groundwater and then poison our groundwater. Okay, animals that can pollute rivers and the groundwater, which is a major problem. Okay, all dealing with all that waste. Big lagoons. Remember, if you watch the video, I show you some pictures of big ponds of poop. Mm-hmm. And they don't always stay where they need to stay. Okay. All right, so that's one. Pauline, what's another? What's that? Yes. So the 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 food you need to provide. That food can be used to feed us, right? So we're using it to feed the animals. And remember the 10% rule? Only 10% of the energy you put in, you get out of that exchange. So you could feed 10 people for the amount of food you get from, you could totally feed 10 people with that energy, but with the animal protein, you can only feed one person. So you're wasting 9 meals basically by giving it to animals first. Okay. So food taken away from people. And to do that, you need to use more land. Okay, so you're taking over more land to put all these animals on. And then what's the other part? What else you say, Polly? What's that? Oh, water. Yeah, yeah. And water. Good. Taken away from people. So you got to give them all that water where we can use that water, right? To grow crops that we can eat. Instead, we're using it constantly for the animals. Are you also going to be burning fossil fuels, taking care of those animals? Extra fossil fuel burn, yeah, extra. Okay, taking care of them, transporting them, producing them. So I had my roommate in college, my freshman year roommate. He worked at a pork processing plant in the summer before college. You guys know what a pork processing plant is? What's that? To a degree. So what happens in a pork processing plant, Albert? What does it look like? Big factory, yeah. And what goes into the factory for pork processing? What do they need? Pork. Where does pork come from? Pigs. So yeah, pigs go in. And what comes out? Bacon, pork chops, all the pork products. So it's a big factory yeah, ham or whatever. It's a big factory that takes that living animal and chops it up into all these different parts. Now, that's kind of a brutal thing, right? Um, it was pretty crazy. Um, and he warned me. He says when you get out of the car in the parking lot, you're gonna want to throw up because of the smell of the place. And he was right. It smelled. Ooh-wee. But we went in. It smelled fine because it was like 50 degrees. It's called the cutting floor, where they're cutting up all the parts and then packaging them into the containers. But then we went to the kill floor, which you know what happens on the kill floor, right? That's where the way they kill these pigs, and I think they normally do it. They stun them with electricity, then they hang them upside down. They grab one leg and hang them upside down, and then one guy, I swear, one guy in the corner with a big old knife and wearing a big, plastic apron gown, took that knife and he just cut its throat right here and right here. And then as it was basically carried along the floor, it basically bled out, right? It bled to death right there. And then it moved along and went onto the floor where it started to cut them up into pieces. So it was pretty, the blood everywhere, smelled terrible. Anyway, it's not something that is very, could you guys kill an animal to eat it? No, I don't think I could. I think I would just be vegetarian if I had to kill the animal. Because we're removed from that, right? But you guys eat meat lately, right? Probably. So some animals slaughtered like that. So in our culture, we don't really think about it because we don't deal with it ourselves, right? Unless you grow up on a farm, maybe you have dealt with animals, putting them down or slaughtering them. So anyway, gave me a whole new context. I think if you eat meat, you probably should come to terms with that process, to be fair to the animal. But so there's an ethics component to eating a plant-based diet, right? Killing animals. Now, would those animals exist if it weren't for us? Not in that form, right? They're grown, they're produced for that purpose. So it's not like we're snatching them out of the wild and killing them. And people do that too, right? But these are factory. Oh, Albert, can you put that phone away, please? It's important. This is me on the test, Albert. And you'll be like, dang, I was on my phone when the band we were talking about. So, huge environmental costs. We use tons of land to grow all these food. They tear up the land, they erode the land, make it into a desert. We could feed a lot more people if we just cut way, way back on. Has anybody tried to cut back on your meat consumption before? Okay, yeah. So I keep trying and then it doesn't really work. But I did. I ate fish instead last night. Is that better? Is it better to eat fish? Does it have an impact? Yeah. We know from the video it does, right? Okay, especially certain kinds of fishing. Like it was tuna that I was eating, which fishing tuna, is tuna like a bottom or a top fish in the sea? Well, it's pretty near the top. Pretty capable fish. Okay. And we take out top predators and killing any massive big fish in the ocean is a problem. I've never heard of people eating killer whales, but I'm sure you could if you had to. Dang, you gonna kill some killer whales, Albert? You looking for that orca burger? Albert's orca burgers. No? Okay. All right. What's your favorite soup, Anna? Caldo de pollo. Oh yeah, I learned about caldo the other day. All right, sounds good. Diego, what's your favorite? Vegetable. Oh, vegetable. Good. Good. Ashley, what's your favorite? Chicken gnocchi. Oh yeah, gnocchi's good. Sophia, what's your favorite? Menudo pozole. Okay. Rian, what's your favorite? Dumpling soup. Oh, dumpling soup. That's good. Yeah, on a day like this, That would be a good option. Okay. All right. So everybody picked up one of these papers. So there's a whole bunch of stuff on agriculture, growing things in this unit. So I love doing experiments where we grow plants and do different things to their growing situation, see how it affects their growth. Okay, it's not hard to do, and you get some pretty powerful data. So what you guys are going to do, I figure maybe you'll just get into the groups you did the project in. Okay, but you get the posters. We just have presentations on Wednesday. And I want you to think about what you want to investigate. Now, let's look at part 1. You got to select an agricultural factor. So fertilizers is a big part of this unit. So you could look at a bunch of different kinds of possible fertilizers. Coffee grounds, different compost, worm castings. There's synthetic fertilizers we can acquire, from Home Depot and stuff. Banana peels, any kind of natural compost or something else you might, like eggshells are used sometimes. Okay, so if that interests you, you can set up an experiment, Raina, where you guys come up with some kind of fertilizer. You can even look at organic fertilizer versus artificial fertilizer. Also pesticides. We have to fight back against the bugs that want to eat our food. A natural pesticide, we can't use any, we can't bring in any really harmful pesticides. We can't do that. But we can use some more natural pesticides. A lot of soaps are used as pesticide. You guys heard that? Like your garden plants, make like a dish detergent solution, spray them on that. So you could try that. Neem oil is used. And we talked about the, ancients, they use olive, the crushed remains of the olives after they make olive oil from it. So you could try that. Chili extract, garlic. Smell pretty good in here. Okay. Now if you do that, sometimes we do get, when we grow these for a while, we do get bugs growing on them back there. So, but we can't purposely try that. But for the pesticide to work, it's got to not harm the plant, right? We can't put pesticides to kill the bugs if it's going to kill the plant too. So we can learn a lot by just knowing if it harms the plant. So that's still just fine to use, even though we might not be able to measure its effect on actual pests. Irrigation, watering is a big thing. So you could try different amounts of irrigation, although that's a little bit trickier, and I'll get to that in a second. And then genetics, we have not perfectly, but we have done artificial selection for all the crops we've been making and growing for the last hundreds, thousands of years. We choose the plants we like and we mate them together. The plants we don't like, we try to make sure they don't mate and produce offspring. So there's a lot of different varieties we can test how well they grow. Like, for example, if you go get radish seeds, are there a lot of different kinds of radishes out there? Yeah, there's like 10 you can get seeds for. And those are all genetically different. That's an example of genetic engineering, basically, that humans have done. So you could test how those seeds grow in different conditions. That'd be kind of a more complicated one because you have 2 different seeds, and then maybe test different chemicals against them. Like maybe see how one grows in coffee versus regular soil. Okay, and test those 2 out and see if the genetic differences make a difference. Okay. So those are the 3 general areas that you can choose to investigate. All right. So I want you guys in your groups, decide on which one of those, and then do some research and figure out how you want to set up your experiment. Let's look at part 2 really quickly. So once you find out that independent variable, you know, you're going to figure out what concentration levels you're going to test out. You know, like the amount of coffee you're going to add or the amount of detergent you're going to test on your plants. What the control is going to be, what you're going to keep the same, and we'll get to that on page 2. So really treatment, you know, it's one treatment that you need to do. Go ahead and flip over. So the main thing, remember the dependent variable is what you're going to measure. So the main thing you're going to measure is the height of your plants. Okay, just every time we come in, we'll grow the height, which by the way, I just realized that next week, I was thinking about setting it up next week. However, we have Thanksgiving break the week after that. So I'm not sure, you know, the first 2 weeks are going to be pretty critical. So we might want to get everything ready to go next week and then plant right when we get back from Thanksgiving break. Then we'll have 3 weeks before the winter break. And 3 weeks should be enough to get them to grow and then to get our data. What's that? 1. Yeah, we get 1 week off. Okay? About 10 years ago, we switched to a full week. Before, you know, it was only 2 days. You remember those days? You don't. You guys have always had a week, huh? You remember 3 days, Anna? Yeah, we used to have a half day on Wednesday, and Thursday and Friday off.
What year was that?
I think it was around 10, maybe 15 years ago we went to a week off.
Sir, I'm 17.
Maybe 15. So you've always had a week.
Absolutely.
Huh?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. So it's been a while. But as you'll see, there's other things you can measure. You know, the color, how well they germinate, what percent of the seeds, because you'll plant a certain amount, and maybe they all won't germinate. Maybe some seeds just don't make it for whatever reason. You can also, after the experiment, because it's not just the height, what's also really important for a plant? What part of the plant is in the soil? The roots, right? So root development's big. So that might be something you want to look at. That's a little trickier to ascertain though, right? It's hard to measure roots because there's hundreds of those little things. But plant height, you can easily measure. The color, the appearance, a little less easy, but still, you know, is it dark green, light green, medium green, that sort of thing. Okay? You're going to change one thing, but everything else needs to be the same. Say you change the amount of coffee levels. Well, the amount of water you give to everything, the amount of soil, the amount of light, all those things need to be kept constant. Because if they aren't, then you don't know if a change is from the coffee or some difference in the conditions. So the easiest way to set up the experiment is to use these things right here. Has anybody seen these before? These are, oh yeah, did we use these? No, but you've seen them because they're in the back. These are called Lee Valley seed starter, self-watering seed starter trays. So what you can see, there's 3x8 little wells. Usually I have students plant 2 per well. So in case one doesn't grow, the other one grows. If they grow together, that's fine. And they sit on top of this felt, which hangs down into this. Oh, there's 2 of them here. Oh, that's where that went. Hangs down into this reservoir. This is where your water is. So this felt gets wet, and it touches the bottom of the soil, and the water soaks into the soil through capillary action of the water. So everything stays perfectly wet the whole time. All you need to do is make sure you don't dry out here, which is great because giving everything the exact amount of water is difficult to do. Water everything perfectly the same is difficult. So if you want to do an irrigation study or test 2 different kinds of water, that's really what you want to do. Then in that case, what you'll want to do is use, and everybody can probably use more than one. I think I have enough for everybody to use more than one. So this can have one kind of water in it, this can have another kind. Okay, and we'll compare the two together. We'll just have a lot of data for those two, you know, to compare those two groups. Okay. All right. There's another style. I'm not sure how it would. Maybe your particular design might work better. These wells are a little bit bigger. Okay. Yeah, and you can have 2 different conditions or 3 different conditions, however you want to set it up. If it's really critical for your experiment, if you are doing watering amounts, then we could get little pots. I have a bunch of little pots where you could then water by hand. However, we do have the issue with Thanksgiving break, right? It's going to be a week where nobody's going to be able to water it. We'll be fine with these because, no, we're not going to be over break. Yeah, we won't be over break. So yeah, never mind. That was silly. Because yeah, I don't think we should start it next week and then have those first the German. Yeah, or should we? Hmm? Maybe. This will last over a week. So if you're in here, I mean, this will last over vacation. It's not gonna. It won't dry out. What I'm concerned is, being able to gather that data over that week. And it's fun to see them pop up, right? That's kind of a fun part. So let me think about that. Okay. The week. So, but that thing is 3 weeks enough? Yeah, I plan on. Yeah, we won't be able to do it over winter break, so we want have all of our data collected by, the end before the holiday winter break. Okay. All right. Any questions? So, why don't you guys get into your groups? Just form your groups, get together, start to think about what variable you want to look at. And then go ahead, if you want to research, go ahead and grab a computer, either a computer if you want to use the silver ones, and start to look into what variables you're going to choose.